A Knoxville woman faces a series of charges, including theft, DUI, and resisting arrest. During her confrontation with a sheriff's deputy, she was bitten severely by a K-9. You're seeing some of that here. We first reported part of this story last night. Ashley Gregg tells 10 News she is still recovering from the bite after several surgeries. Her medical costs run in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. 10 Investigates reporter Ellis Roll joining us now with more on what we're learning about this use of force case. And Ellis, you reviewed personnel files, body cam video, and you also spoke to an outside expert in these cases.
Gregg's arrest in March. A reminder, some of this video may be hard to watch. Tonight we're going to look at the records we requested from Knox County Sheriff's Office and hear expert analysis about this use of force.
Charlie, don't hurt me. Please. No. Please.
Stop resisting. You're going to go on the ground.
I'm not.
Does that make sense?
That's Knox County Deputy Kyle Bodoff in a struggle with Ashley Gregg. This all started with a call about a porch pirate. It escalated to this.
Stop it now.
Dolly!
No.
Dolly, here! Put your hands there! Stop! Stop! You put your hands behind your back! Put your hands behind your back! Put your hands behind your back! Right now!
Within minutes of finding Gregg, Bodoff releases his K-9 Dolly on her. Dolly bites Gregg for almost 2 minutes, even when Bodoff tells her to let go.
Dolly, leave it!
This is Gregg's leg after that bite.
Put her in cuffs first.
And this is her leg during medical treatment.
Put her in cuffs.
This would seem to appear to be a self-fulfilling case of force that could have otherwise been avoided.
Ed Obayashi is a deputy sheriff in California who advises law enforcement agencies across the country on use of force protocols. Defense attorneys and prosecutors turn to him for case analysis. He's seen this body cam footage.
When you first watched it, what stuck out to you?
She clearly is not threatening the officer to the degree that would justify the deployment of a dangerous, inherently dangerous weapon such as a K-9.
But in an August preliminary hearing, Bodoff says Gregg was actively resisting. The Knox County Sheriff's Office use of force policy defines active resistance as physically evasive movements to interfere with the deputy, like bracing, tensing, pulling away, flight, or pushing. Obayashi doesn't think Gregg was actively resisting at all.
The law differentiates between passive resistance, minor inconsequential refusal to comply, versus active resistance, where an individual is actively assaulting an officer.
He says there's no set definition on active resistance and that department policies are often vague. It can depend on how a court defines it, so I pressed him on the footage.
So going through this footage, I went through and I counted, and the officer involved told Gregg to stop resisting over 20 times. He told her he was going to release his dog 5 times. What would you say to people who watch this and, think she was resisting and he gave her plenty of warning?
Regardless of whether she isn't putting her hands behind her back, regardless of her own subjective intent, it simply does not rise to the level of the type of resistance which necessitates or justifies deployment of this level of force.
And Obayashi says Bodoff never tries to de-escalate.
I see no attempts at de-escalation on the part of the deputy. Immediately, he takes her to the ground.
In that August hearing, Bodoff says this moment
Don't go back in the car. Put your hands up.
was an attempt to de-escalate. The Sheriff's Office use of force policy defines de-escalation as a decrease in severity of force, as a response to a decrease in level of resistance.
Why didn't he wait for backup, which was very close nearby? So again, you have to analyze these use of force incidents in the context of what type of resistance was being demonstrated by the subject.
We reviewed Bodoff's personnel file. He joined the force in 2015 and was named Officer of the Month in January 2021 and 2023, and K-9 Officer of the Year in 2022. His superiors say errors in his work are extremely rare or non-existent, that he uses good judgment and is very safety conscious. We requested every use of force report involving Dolly from the last 3 years.
Dolly, leave it!
Every time she's released on the job, Bodoff has to file a report. Records show in that time period, she's been released to subdue someone 56 times and bitten someone 4 times. We asked the sheriff's office for details about those incidents to see when Dolly had been used, and the suspect willingly surrendered. Every report we requested, but 2, were completely redacted. The sheriff's office says it's because they're still in open court or were another agency's case. We asked the sheriff's office multiple times if anyone, including Bodoff, would speak to us on camera. They declined because Grag's case is still ongoing. We also asked to speak with Grag. Because of her criminal case, her attorney, Lance Baker, offered a statement. He says, in part, the body cam speaks for itself, and people can make up their own mind about whose safety was threatened. An unarmed 5-foot-tall woman or a large armed officer and a trained K-9. He says after the bite, Grag suffered an abscess and has had multiple surgeries and debridements. He says he hasn't been able to verify Grag received any medical care while in custody in Knox County. Her medical bills are in the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Grag's attorney tells us they'll likely sue the county. Grag's criminal case was bound over to a grand jury in August. If she's indicted, she'll have a trial. John, back to you.
Ellis rolled on that story. We'll continue to follow it, Ellis. Let's move.